Let's talk about Poland now, vowing to send warplanes to Ukraine. Polish President Andrzej Duda says his country will provide around a dozen MiG-29 fighter jets. Poland is the first NATO member to answer President Zelensky's repeated request for warplanes. There is no indication yet if other countries will make the same move. The debate over providing Ukraine, which is not a member of NATO, with fighter jets from a NATO ally started a year ago. You might remember this. Duda announced this today at a meeting with the Czech President Petr Pavel. The Czech Republic, Poland, and Hungary were the first former members of the Soviet-aligned Warsaw Pact to join NATO back in 1999. And as things intensify above the skies, or above the ground over Ukraine in the skies, the Pentagon has now declassified video of these two Russian fighter jets taking down that U.S. drone. The Reaper UAV was on a reconnaissance mission in international airspace before Russian MiG forced it to crash into the Black Sea. NBC News reports the highest levels of the Kremlin likely approve those aggressive actions. Yesterday, General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said it was clear that the intercept and harassment of the drone by Russia was intentional. Russia has denied any collision and said the drone crashed because it was making sharp maneuvers. Joining us now for more on this is former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, KT McFarland. Great to see you, KT.
Always a pleasure, John. Thank you.
The response to this, we had Senator Lindsey Graham offering this critique of the Biden administration's response. Quote, what would Ronald Reagan do right now? He would start shooting down Russian planes if they were threatening our assets. Now, KT, you of course worked for Ronald Reagan. Does that sound like something Ronald Reagan would do?
No. Look, what Ronald Reagan would do, he won the Cold War. How? By bankrupting the Soviet Union. How do we win this war? By bankrupting Russia. You use the same thing. You don't go to war. You don't have to go to war because you have an economic weapon. If the administration or any of these people who seem to want to beat the war drums, if they were really serious about defeating Russia, they would do one thing, and they would do it quite quickly. Stop President Biden's war on American fossil fuels. Let the United States energy industry once again become not just energy independent for America, but energy dominant. Now, that's a really important word, dominant. That means American energy, and we have enough of it, can produce all of the energy the rest of the world needs. So we can do it at a much cheaper price than Russia or Iran or any of these countries. So what happens if American energy is let loose? The price of energy goes down. Russia's bankrupt. Russia needs high energy prices. That's how they're paying for this war. So if we wanted to stop Russia dead in its tracks, don't start shooting them out of the air. Just bankrupt them. Russia couldn't, and they would not be able to afford to keep this war going for even another 6 months if we use that economic weapon. And yet nobody seems to want to use the economic weapon. Everybody wants to sort of pull the trigger. Well, I think Ronald Reagan, if you looked at his record, he didn't go to war. We had 2 military engagements in the entire 8 years of the Reagan administration. One was the war in Grenada, which was, open, done within a couple of weeks' time. And the other was we reflagged some vessels in the Persian Gulf. Other than that, Ronald Reagan did not go to war. Ronald Reagan used the economic weapon to defeat our adversaries, and we have that weapon today, and we should use it.
Yeah, peace through strength seems to be a thing of the past, even though everyone likes to invoke that terminology. I also want to focus on what General Mark Milley said yesterday about the attempts to recover the remnants of the drone. Let's take a listen.
It probably broke up. There's probably not a lot to recover, frankly. As far as the loss of anything of sensitive intelligence, etc., as normal, we would take, and we did, take mitigating measures. So we are quite confident that whatever was of value is no longer of value.
One of the constant themes of our discussions, KT, about the U.S. military right now and the Biden administration is it's always reactive, not proactive. You hear Milley's comments there. What do you think about the administration's and the Pentagon's response so far?
Well, it sounds an awful lot like the spy balloon response, right? Oh, well, there's nothing really to worry about. We're going to shoot it down, but really there was no operational intelligence value to it. Why do we keep making excuses after the fact? I mean, to your point, why are these countries daring to do it to us? I mean, China has dared to do it. Why? Because they can get away with it. Russia, the Soviet Union, Russia now, today, why are they doing it? Because they know there's no consequence. China is very quickly becoming the dominant global power right under our noses. What happened in the Middle East? There's now a new Saudi Arabia and Iran agreement. Now, the Chinese president, well, he's going to go to Russia. He's going to have a Russia-China alliance. And then he's maybe even going to go to Ukraine and try to be the peace broker there. Again, we're always reacting. We always get these things are taken by surprise. We have the ability and we have the tools to become the dominant world power again. It's just that this administration, for some mysterious reason, refuses to use them.
KT, before we wrap up here, real quickly, I wanted to ask you about Governor Ron DeSantis and his comments on the Ukraine war. He says it's not a vital national security interest in the United States. He slammed the Biden administration's blank check. He also called it a territorial dispute. What's your take?
Look, there's a very big difference between a vital national interest and a national interest. Vital national interest means we're willing to go to war over that. And President Reagan, in fact, he wrote it in his memoirs, a vital national interest. Yeah, we defend that. We go to war for that. A national interest we can deal with in other ways. So I think DeSantis was absolutely correct. Unfortunately, a lot of the media just took one or two little snippets of his longer statement and then said, oh, he doesn't want to defend Ukraine. Of course he wants to defend Ukraine. If you look a little further into what he said use the economic weapon, just like I've said.
Yeah, two different questions that he was asked and being characterized in different ways. Interesting, too, to see the Wall Street Journal portray, calling it Ron DeSantis' first mistake. Whatever. Wow. Anyway, we'll leave it there. KT, great to see you as always. Thank you.
Thank you, John.